All right, so the Sharks once again lost to the Colorado Avalanche. They played better today than yesterday. They actually scored some goals. However, they lost 4-3, which isn't nice. And looking at the standings, the Sharks are pretty much out. Not mathematically. For us to make the playoffs, we'd have to pretty much win every single game and have the Blues and Coyotes lose like the remainder of their games because there's like 5 left. But in reality, that's probably not going to happen. But we played pretty bad. And it was interesting because the Sharks actually got to face Devan Dubnyk, who was a former Shark at the beginning of the year, obviously. And he actually was all right. He was decent. He had an 880 save percentage, making 22 saves on 25 attempts. Sharks lost 4-3. And Joseph Korjanaj was in net. He had to make a lot more saves. He actually had a better save percentage than Dubnyk just because, obviously the Sharks are going to allow more shots. He made 40 saves on 44 attempts, but the Sharks unfortunately lost. And I didn't really expect us to win, but at least it was closer, right? We got to celebrate these little victories. But yeah, so the goalies were pretty competitive in the first period. There was actually no score in the first period. But Barabanov, who's actually been looking pretty good, young player, on the power play for the Sharks, scored about 6 minutes into the first period. About 5 minutes in, actually. But, yeah, Barabanov scored on Dubnyk, making it 1-0 Sharks. And like I said, he's been good lately. I believe this is his second career goal, which is really nice. And Korjanaj did really good, but then obviously when you're facing Nathan MacKinnon, it's a 4-on-4. Nathan MacKinnon scored for the Colorado Avalanche on a really nice tip-in off a really good pass, and that tied the game up at 1. Then, with about 4 minutes left in the second, Andrei Burakovsky scored for the Colorado Avalanche, making it 2-1 Avs, and Korjanaj just couldn't get that. I have a lot of faith in Korjanaj. I think he could be good in the future. I just think he needs a better team around him. I think he's talented, though. And there's room for improvement, but I think he's definitely have a lot of room to grow. Korjanaj made some good saves, so did Dubnyk. However, the Avalanche took a 2-goal lead in the third period about halfway through with a Patrick Nemeth goal on Korjanaj, and it was a pretty good goal. They got really fast skaters, so the Sharks were kind of flat-footed. But Logan Couture did score not too long later. He's been having a good year. It was actually short-handed, too. It was a short-handed breakaway on the Avalanche power play, and that put the Sharks down only by 1. However, Mikko Rantanen scored with about 4.5 minutes left for the Avs, and that made it 4-2, obviously. Good goal for him, aggressive in the crease. But, yeah. Then Tomas Hertl made the game interesting. With 2 minutes left, Tomas Hertl scored. And that put the Avs deficit down to 1, but the Avs held on and won by a final score of 4-3, which kind of sucks, but at least it was competitive, right? I mean, you kind of just got to look back and laugh at this point. The ways the Sharks lose are just so crazy. And yeah, player of the game, for the Avalanche would probably be Nathan MacKinnon, because he had a lot of shots on goal, but I think the Sharks had some good players out there, too. I think Barabanov did really good. Hertl, pretty much everyone who scored a goal, but those guys had assists, too. And Korjanaj didn't do terribly. I mean, when you're playing the Avalanche, you got to expect a lot of goals against you. It's just the Sharks' defense needs to improve a lot. But yeah, we lose. We're still at 45 points, so to put that in perspective, I think the Blues are at 53, so making the playoffs is virtually impossible now, unless, like I said, they all lose. The Blues and Coyotes. But in terms of our next game, we're going to be playing the Avalanche one more time on Monday at home for a 2-game series, and then the Coyotes for a 2-game series at home, and then the Golden Knights for one rescheduled game. So the rest of our games are at home. Maybe that'll get us some mojo and win us the game. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. Sharks lose 4-3 to the Avalanche, and yep, go Sharks.